Welcome to the Thomas Lee House here in East Lyme, Connecticut. The Thomas Lee House is owned and operated by the East Lyme Historical Society. If you like what you're about to see, please look us up online or come visit us sometime. We're standing at the front of the house here, which sits on its original location at the corner of Giants Neck Road and Route 156 in East Lyme. The part you see on your left is the original part of the house, dates to the late 17th century. The part to the right side of the door to the early 18th century, and we'll come around back of the house and show you a later mid 18th century addition. Now, the Thomas Lee House is perhaps the oldest primitive wood frame structure left in the state, and by that we mean it has not been lived in since the mid 1800s. It has never had plumbing. We ran an electrical line for an alarm and just literally 2 or 3 lights. And our philosophy is that unless something absolutely needs to be maintained or fixed, we leave it as it was. So as we go through the place, you're going to see as it was pretty much in its original state. So we'll walk around the east side of the house. There's the cellar bulkhead. And as we come around to the rear of the house, we get a view at the classic salt box lines, and the entire back half of the house was a mid 18th century addition. So you have 3 major stages of construction. The original late 1600s, early 1700s, and then again in the mid 1700s. So let's go inside the house and see what we got here. Walking around to the front door. Got your classic 6x9 windows. These would have been part of the mid 1700s construction phase, because the house was originally constructed, but it was remodeled entirely at that point too. So we're in the front hallway here. Door to the cellar. Stairway going up to the 2nd floor. And here we're going to enter into what we call the Judgment Hall, which is the original part of the house. We call it the Judgment Hall because it was actually a courtroom. Thomas Lee III, who was the son of the house builder, Thomas Lee II, was a magistrate. So in addition to being part of his house, this was also his courtroom. We step into the room. We see our summer beam stretching across. See the fireplace. See the lamp black and what remains of what was originally, well, not originally, but at one point there was some plaster on the ceiling. And the original red paint on the wall. The house is furnished with 17th, 18th, and 19th century artifacts and articles, pieces of furniture. None of it belonged to the Lee family, but acquired by the Historical Society through generous donations over the years. So we're going to step through the Judgment Hall. Fine old English chest there. And we're going to step into the rear of the house. This is what we call the buttery. We're looking into the kitchen, and through the door on the far side is what we call the boarding room. So again, we're in the buttery now. Back door up to the 2nd floor to give people an opportunity to get upstairs to a storage area without cutting through the bed chambers. This would have been an all-purpose food preparation and work area. The board you see on the walls were repurposed from other parts of the house during the mid 1700s construction phase and renovation phase. So let's step into the kitchen. Got the classic beehive fireplace. Various accoutrement implements along the walls. Again, you've got the original red stain or paint, whatever the wall application and covering was. Interesting feature of the house. Knee braces, supports, more typically used in ship construction, but in this case they're used in a house. We're going to move into the boarding room. Again, this whole back half is the mid-1700s reconstruction. This would have been all-purpose guest room, perhaps widowed in-laws, obviously if you're giving birth, if you were ill. Notice the ceiling was painted at one time and the walls were plastered. This is likely during the 1765 renovation. Now we're still on the ground floor. We step into the west side of the house, the parlor, and you see the paneling, the plaster walls and ceiling, and your classic 6x9 windows. The original windows would have been casement type. This type of window dates to the mid-1700s. And again, we have 17th, 18th, and 19th century furnishings in the house. I'd like to point out an interesting thing above the fireplace. We have candle scars in the wall. There are several places in the house these occur. These are actual burn marks from candles from back in the days before we had real lighting. Over here on the west wall, we have what is known as the dying charge of John Lee. John Lee was the oldest son of the house builder Thomas Lee II. And this is essentially his deathbed declaration to his children. Now the painting is not original, but the words are. So we're going to move back into the front hallway, looking into the judgment hall, and we're going to turn up the stairs and we're going to look at the second floor. These stairs date to the mid-1700s construction phase. We're going to turn into the east chamber, which is part of the original construction of the house. This is above the judgment hall. Essentially, the original house was 2 rooms, 1 down, 1 up, plus a garret area for an attic and a small cellar. Point out more candle burns in the walls and a very small carved boat or ship. One of the mysteries of the house. Apparently some little naughty boy or girl might have been paddled for that a couple hundred years ago. Okay, we're going to move over into the east chamber, or excuse me, the west chamber. This is the second edition, early 1700s, but mid-1700s renovation. So you can see the paneling on the wall, classic colonial look, princess type bed, more plaster, 6x9 windows, wide board floors throughout, and a very, very interesting feature, a surviving casement window. This was originally an exterior wall, so this would have been an exterior window, and all the original windows would have looked like this. We're going to step into a storage area. So we are standing outside the original house. This is the mid-1700s construction phase. Garret area. This would have been used for storage, Sleeping quarters for servants and children. Perhaps would have been hams curing, sheaves of herbs drying out. We'll come over to this surviving case window frame. Again, this would have been outside the house originally. And another interesting feature, as you look at the structure, you can see the carpenter's match marks on the beams there. Massive chimney stack going up into the attic, although the lighting's not very good. We're going to step back out into the bed chamber. And I think we'll end the tour here. Again, if you like what you see, please look us up online at eastlimehistoricalsociety.org, and we hope to see you sometime soon. Take care.